All right, well, we're going to talk a little bit about what causes trauma and why we should use a trauma informed approach in the classroom and what it is. So on this slide, it talks about all the different things that could be considered trauma. The definition of trauma by the American Psychological Association says it's an emotional response to a terrible event like an accident, rape, or natural disaster. So it kind of lists some other things that could be considered trauma. The problem, really, though, with that definition is that it really only includes a description of the event rather than the experience that one has with the event. So it's not really the event that causes or decides whether it's trauma or not. It's really the feeling that it creates for that person or for that child. So, trauma informed, what is it? So, it really is using a model or a framework that incorporates an understanding of ways that a trauma can impact a child's social emotional health. So, just really having the understanding of the impact of that trauma and approaches to help that child. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Um, so, students that have that survival brain who are, either affected by trauma or having a lot of stress, they don't really have the cause and effect thinking. So they struggle with consequences. The environment that they have been a part of hasn't really prepared them for predictable outcomes. So everything in their lives has been unpredictable. So they really struggle with traditional discipline, I would guess. I guess that's the best way to explain it, where there's reward and punishment. So they're the kids that really don't get that concept because of that environment that they are in. So the key here with these students is relationship first, discipline second. So trauma research tells us that students who survive trauma and they grow to be successful have identified one single variable in their success. And that was that they were connected to a caring adult who believed in them and cared about them. So, why do these students need that relationship? Well, first, they're constantly in fight, flight, or freeze mode. That's the survival mode response to just about any single event that could happen, whether it's in the classroom or whether it's at home. They really don't have any social cues or awareness of expected behavior. They are not equipped to handle stress and trauma. They really just need that nurturing adult to calm their nervous systems, and they will fail without they'll fail in school and they'll fail just in life in general without learning the skills to help them properly deal with the stress. So the focus of trauma informed is really just helping students feel safe, helping them be regulated, and the only way we do that is through relationships with the child and allowing them to feel that trust with an adult, and that adult will make sure to keep them safe and secure. And sometimes that relationship can happen fairly quickly, that trust. And with others, it'll take a long time to build that. So we have an amazing gift and an extreme amount of power to be able to take a child's life and completely transform it. Take it from take the child from a state of fear and survival in every situation to a state of learning how to be able to calm themselves, learning to trust. And it's really that simple. It's not an easy process, but that relationship with a child is the one thing that will help them get through that trauma and help them to be able to work on academics, which is the main goal of them being in school. But without that relationship and without them being able to regulate, you're not going to be able to get to academics. So if you look at the hierarchy of learning on this slide, it really shows that without those physiological needs, the feeling of safety, the feeling of relationship, love, that self esteem, you can't get to learning. So, all of those other needs really need to be met before we can get to that academic piece. And the key to that is relationships. And I think you'll hear us talk about that quite a bit when we meet, but it's the word that comes up over and over and over again: relationships. So, really, every child is going to have some kind of trauma or experience some kind of trauma. Whether or not the trauma will have a lasting effect on that child depends on how well their needs are met and whether they have that relationship. So, many children have that trusting adult relationship at home. Many of them, some of them don't. So, for those students who don't, that's us. That's the school who will be able to provide that for them. When we're able to give them that environment of support, attention, love, and those needs get met, the impact of that trauma is minimized or avoided. So as a school, we really have the power to transform a child's life from one of fear to one of hope and calm. And it's for all kids. Relationships are important to all kids, but especially those who've experienced trauma. So, trauma informed doesn't really mean that we are, giving them a survey or asking them, have you had any traumatic experiences? We just treat all children that way. And I think you'll start to realize or see, which ones maybe need that relationship a little bit more. So, trauma informed is just that relationship piece.